Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, American Comics. Expose the Foundation at the beginning, shocking the world. Chapter 21. Appendix. Anomalous Containment 409 Crystal Twister, Experiment 1. With the sound of this text, in the picture of the light curtain, a man in a yellow vest appeared, sitting nervously in a containment room. On the vest, there is a big, D964 feet character. It looks like a criminal in prison. This should be the D-class personnel that the agent said. Stark is sitting on the plane back to New York. After seeing this scene, his complexion suddenly became weird. After the Beak doctor got on the plane with the Foundation agent, Dr. Yinsen frantically wanted to follow Drive Naozui, and also boarded the plane. The agent originally refused, but after watching Yinsen for a while, he started to ask Yinsen if he would like to become a D-class personnel of the Foundation. Yinsen agreed decisively. He also asked himself if he wanted to come together. But Stark was still in extreme fear at the time, so naturally he directly refused. "Perhaps I should agree," Stark whispered, thinking about it calmly. Joining the Foundation seems to be a good choice, to have a deeper understanding of other unknown scenes in this world. I just don't know what the D-level personnel of this Foundation actually do. Thinking of this, Stark's attention was shifted to the light curtain again. Screen. The door of the D-class personnel was suddenly opened. Immediately after seeing, a doctor in a white coat walked into the room with a smile on his face. Seeing this scene, the internet exploded in an instant. "I'm going. It's that smile again. This feels so familiar to him. When I showed 343 a picture of a shy person before, that doctor also had this smile. God, I always feel that this person is going to be unlucky. Don't feel thankful. As long as the doctor shows this smile, someone will be in trouble immediately. PFF ha 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 ha. I'm already looking forward to it. This is a man who dares to cheat God." Quote. Screen. Behind the doctor, two agents pushed a huge amounts of box to the front of D964. Then signaled D964 to open. D964 hesitated for a while, then took the box and opened it directly. "Then, I was attracted by the huge amounts of spar inside. This jewel is now yours." The doctor continued to smile. An expression of disbelief suddenly appeared on D964's face, and he asked, "Doctor, are you sure? This spar looks extremely precious," and the doctor actually gave it to himself directly. Wasn't he sentenced to death? There is such a good treatment. The doctor nodded with a kind smile on his face. Immediately, D964 couldn't help stretching out his hand, as if looking at a lover. He stroked the spar back and forth. A face full of intoxication. Seeing this scene, the internet immediately boiled over. PFF ha 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 ha. I really can't help it. Are all the doctors of the Foundation so bad? I'm dying of laughter. This D964 is actually moved, but he doesn't know that he is going to die soon. Tisk tisk tisk. According to the customs of our country, it's time to eat. I'll take the 500 and sit at the children's table. This wave is dead. God can't save him. Quote. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D. What is this Foundation doing? How dare they use living people to experiment with such dangerous crystal vines? The bald agent suddenly shouted out of righteous indignation, Director Nick Fury. Just based on this, we can confirm that this Foundation is an organization without human rights. I suggest that our S.H.I.E.L.D. list it as a terrorist and destroy it. Destroy the Foundation. What the hell? So far, their understanding of the Foundation is limited to the content revealed in the inventory video. I take it you want S.H.I.E.L.D. to be wiped out. Nick Fury took a look at him. Then he shook his head and said, based on the previous content, the Foundation should not be an evil organization. I guess it is this, D964 feet, which may have been used as a test product. The military and S.H.I.E.L.D. also have similar staffing. However, such test subjects are generally sentenced to death, or those who have committed the most heinous crimes. Then, he looked at the screen and was suddenly taken aback. Etc. Didn't it mean that as long as the crystal tendril comes into contact with matter, it will spread infinitely, turning all the matter it touches into crystal tendrils? How is that box all right? The Foundation knows the weakness of this thing, and knows how to prevent this thing from spreading. but it didn't write it in the material of the inventory video. Nick Fury exclaimed, "Ah!" At this moment. From the light curtain, there was a shrill scream. Immediately after seeing D-964 suddenly curled up on the ground in pain, with snot and tears streaming down his face, with an expression of pain and panic on his face. "No. It hurts. What's going on?" He raised his hand with difficulty, his face full of horror. His hand, it turned into a crystal, which looked exactly like the one I touched just now. And the crystal seemed to be contagious, and it was spreading rapidly along his forearm. In an instant, it has spread to his entire arm. This made D-964 even more frightened. But the range he can struggle with is getting smaller and smaller. "No. Save me." Finally, his whole body was completely transformed into the same crystal as the crystal vine. The look on that face. Just by looking at it, one can tell that he is in extreme pain. This shock, in the previous written materials, they couldn't understand it at all. A moment later, on the entire internet, everyone who saw this scene was completely excited. "This expression is too real. It's numb. I feel like I'm actually there. I even forgot to breathe just now. This expression is really lifelike. God, lifelike. Does this idiom mean this? But I can't find anything wrong. God testifies. This brother's value has skyrocketed now. He has become the most precious work of art." Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., all the top executives of S.H.I.E.L.D. also frowned. Even if they had known for a long time, this scene might happen next. But when you actually see it, they still couldn't help a wave of fear. A living person, watching oneself being transformed into crystals consciously is simply a double torture of the mind and the body. Even thinking about it makes me feel scared. On the plane. Is this the role of D-class personnel? A look of deep fear flashed in Stark's eyes. Fine, I did not agree to Yinsen's invitation at the time. At the same time, he couldn't help mourning Yinsen silently. The agent of the Foundation made Yinsen a D-level personnel. It is probably because Yinsen has been brainwashed by the epidemic doctor and cannot be rescued. Thinking of Yinsen's last reaction, Stark said silently. Sudden, he stopped again, staring at the picture in the light curtain. "Wait, didn't you say that it will explode after crystallization? Time flies by. Soon." Crack. In the picture of the light curtain. Cracks suddenly appeared on the crystallized D-964 body. Next moment, D-964 directly shattered into countless fragments. As soon as the debris touches the ground or other structures, then began to quickly connect the building and the ground. It also quickly transformed into a crystal. D-964 shattered into a lot of crystal fragments. This also leads to the speed at which the crystals spread next is really amazing. The entire laboratory, starting from every corner, crystallized at the same time. Almost instantly, the entire laboratory has become a gigantic crystal. But this laboratory seems to be specially made. Although the entire laboratory has become a crystal, it has not shattered. Hiss. Seeing this scene, in S.H.I.E.L.D., all the agents couldn't help but gasp. The face is full of fear. The horror of the spreading speed of this crystal vine cannot be reflected from the previous written materials at all. Nick Fury's face was filled with horror. He found, "I seem to have underestimated that crystal vine before. After a person is crystallized, countless fragments that can explode can make countless objects start to crystallize together. Then these objects explode again. The chain reaction formed is simply a geometric growth. If this really happened on Earth, I'm afraid the whole of New York, even the whole Earth cannot escape the fate of crystallization." Kamar Taj. This. The pupils of the Ancient One magician also shrank suddenly. In this experimental record, she didn't even think of the spreading speed of the crystal tendrils. It's just too scary. It spread like a plague, out of control. This is even scarier than the invasion of some dimensions. On the plane. This is horrible. Stark breathed a sigh of relief with horror on his face. Fortunately, I did not agree at the time. He has figured it out. The D-class personnel in the agent's mouth are probably the test subjects of these abnormal containment objects. I thought of the contained objects that appeared in the light curtain. Stark couldn't help shivering. Become D-class personnel. Absolutely, life would be worse than death. He shook his head, dispelled the fear in his heart, and looked at the screen again. Then, a strange look appeared on his face. because in the screen, although the containment chamber did not continue to shatter, but he was also stabbed by the crystallized fragments of D964. Online, there are also many netizens who have discovered this and burst out laughing. Wait a minute, look, that doctor also has crystal fragments on him. Those two agents have already run away, seeing that the situation is not good. It's really me. Ha 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 ha. This is a good show to watch. In the next plot, does the doctor also become crystallized? God bless. This wicked villain has finally been punished. Pissed, it's also possible that God did it. After all, another doctor last time, but God was cheated once. Hey, the doctor has begun to crystallize, look at his chest. Quote. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., countless agents all have strange expressions. Nick Fury is also staring at the picture in the light curtain. According to the data of Jingmin, this kind of crystallization cannot be suppressed even by cutting off the relevant parts. That is to say, I'm afraid this doctor will definitely transform into crystals too. But, would the Foundation really let its own doctor take such a big risk without any defense? After all, even those two agents ran ahead of schedule. And, why can't there be any expression of fear on the doctor's face? At this moment, I saw the doctor silently took out another box. On the box, impressively marked a line of characters. Abnormal containment 500. Then, I saw the doctor open the box and took out a bottle of plastic medicine jars from it. Then he poured out a red pill from it and ate it directly. Next moment, the crystallization speed of his chest slowed down at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, the crystals stopped spreading completely. Even, the range of crystals is still shrinking. Nick Fury's pupils shrank suddenly. Online, after seeing this scene, he also completely boiled up. What is this thing? It can actually restrain the spread of crystal tendrils. Doesn't it mean that cutting off the relevant parts is useless? This doctor can't afford it, and when he saw that he was about to crystallize, he just started hanging. Hey guy, this is another new anomaly containment minus 500. Is it just a pill? It seems that the effect seems to be incredible. It's up to you to say. Even the spread of crystal vines can be suppressed or even suppressed. This is simply a magic medicine. If ordinary people eat one of these, will they be able to live forever and never get sick? Quote. Kamar Taj. What is this, so magical? The state of mind of the Ancient One magician was unusually excited. In order to persist until the arrival of the next Sorcerer Supreme, she had to borrow strength from the King of the Dark Dimension to maintain her longevity. This is against the destiny of Sorcerer Supreme, but she has to do it. This abnormal containment minus 500, if it can really make people live forever. She doesn't need to rely on the power of the King of the Dark Dimension. Himalayas. This medicine. Steven's eyes widened suddenly. This anomalous containment minus 500 is so miraculous. Even the crystallization of that vine can be dispelled. Although I don't know exactly what the effect is. But, heal your own hands. There should be no problem. But the next moment, he laughed at himself again. I am really desperate to go to the doctor to the extreme, and I actually put my hope on this. Instead of believing this, it's better to believe what those miraculous self-healing patients said before. Come here to find the legendary magician, Ancient One. Subsequently, he took a deep breath, continued to the Himalayas. And at this moment, in the light curtain, there has been a change again. The picture is turned to darkness. Instead, it is a new document. Abnormal Containment 409 Experiment 2, an interactive experiment with abnormal containment 682 Indestructible Lizard. See this line of information. Everyone suddenly boiled up. What the hell? Why is it anomalous containment 682 again? What the hell? Is it anomalous containment 682 again? Why do you see 682 in every storage inventory? Who is this indestructible evil lizard? Why is it a containment object, and we need to do interactive experiments with it? I'm laughing to death. This immortal lizard, I'm afraid he has some deep hatred with the Foundation, right? Oh my God, God testifies, I am really more and more curious about this immortal lizard. Quote. Online, countless people who saw this information couldn't help but burst out laughing. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., countless agents are also staring at each other. It's actually this anomalous containment object 682 again. It is present in the interactive experiments behind almost every contained object. This indestructible lizard seems to be extremely special even in the abnormal containment records recorded by the Foundation. It's just a pity that I haven't taken stock of it yet, so I don't know what's so special about it. Nick Fury whispered to himself. Asgard. Anomalous containment 682 again. Loki's face suddenly revealed a look of great interest. No matter what this indestructible lizard is, it has been proved to be extremely extraordinary just by going through so many interactions with abnormal containment objects. It might be comparable to Fenrir. If I can subdue this thing. Loki's face lighted up again. On the plane, see the words anomalous containment 682 indestructible lizard. Stark's face. It suddenly became very weird. In mind. Unknowingly, the figure of the D-class personnel appeared just now. How does it feel? This indestructible lizard is like a D-class personnel in the containment, specially here to conduct experiments on other containment. Stark murmured under his breath. And at this moment, in the light curtain, the information is updated again. The containment box containing anomalous containment 682 was sent to the room of anomalous containment -409. Opened by remote control 4 weeks after being emptied by personnel. Anomaly containment 682 is crouched in the northwest corner, and has not made physical contact with anomalous item -409. For the second test, D-class personnel were sent in first, and let them actively touch the abnormal item -409. After the D-class personnel are crystallized, send and release the anomalous item 682. The crystals then burst. Anomalous item 682 is touched by many crystal fragments. After seeing this, countless netizens on the internet suddenly burst out laughing. Pissed ha 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 ha, I'm so happy. 682 didn't dare to touch 409, what the hell is the Foundation sending D-class personnel to make contact? God, what the hell, your Foundation is hell. This is so laughing, I'll forget it, you ha ha ha. What the hell did this immortal lizard do to be treated like this? It's just crazy. Satan has to tattoo your Foundation's name on the back. Immortal lizard, do you want to see what you are doing? D-class personnel, is there really no one to speak up for me? Asgard, interesting, really interesting. Loki couldn't help but smile on his face. He only now finds out. What this Foundation did was simply too much to his liking. He even thought, do you want to find a chance? Let Thor temporarily lose his power and send him to this Foundation. Enjoy the same treatment as this anomalous containment 682. That scene must be beautiful. Loki's eyes narrow slightly. And at this time, the rest of the information also emerged. Anomalous containment 682 screamed. After crystallizing 85% of its body mass, the crystallization stopped and began to reverse. Afterwards, anomalous containment 409 lost its effect on anomalous containment 682. The experiment ends. Although this passage is not much, but there is a lot of news revealed in it. Countless caring people were shocked all of a sudden. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury's eyes widened. As the only 10th level agent in S.H.I.E.L.D., he is too keen on these things. After 85% of the crystallization stopped. In other words, the immortal lizard can resist the crystallization of the abnormal containment 409 crystal vines to a certain extent. In Nick Fury's mind, he quickly analyzed it. And the last record. After that, abnormal containment 409 lost its effect on the immortal lizard. Combined with the previous point, it can also be explained that the immortal lizard could not resist the crystallization of the vines at first. Instead, after the crystallization reaches a certain level, the crystallization is reversed. And, from then on, you can ignore the crystallization of the falling crystal vines. So can it be concluded that this immortal lizard, should it have the ability to resist the alienation of other contained objects and to evolve antibodies? At least, that's the case for Crystal Man. Guessing this possibility, Nick Fury's brain suddenly froze. If it is effective for all abnormal containment objects, then the ability of the immortal lizard is too buggy, right? If there are enough abnormal containment objects, wouldn't it be the invincibility of evolution? So, it also seems to be able to explain why the Foundation took so many contained items to conduct interactive experiments with 682. Thinking of this, Nick Fury couldn't help but gasp. Are they trying to cultivate an invincible monster? And just as Nick Fury kept deriving it in his mind, Director Nick Fury, the bald agent, patted him on the shoulder and pointed to the light curtain outside. The sixth abnormal containment inventory has appeared again. So soon, you're taking inventory of new anomalous containment items. Does he really need to stop? Nick Fury couldn't help but growl. This inventory video is almost continuous. After the inventory of the previous abnormal containment is completed, the next abnormal containment will be carried out immediately. These anomalous containment, how many are there? Is it endless? The key is, S.H.I.E.L.D. knows nothing about so many anomalous containment items. Never even heard the name. That was what terrified him the most. What the hell were they S.H.I.E.L.D. thinking they were doing a few days ago? Call. Nick Fury let out a breath of foul air slowly, staring at the content on the light curtain. And this time, in the light curtain, the information was updated again. Inventory of the top 10 abnormal containment objects of the Foundation. 6th place. Abnormal containment 4691E Angel. Object level. Keter. See this paragraph. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D. The pupils of Nick Fury and the top executives of S.H.I.E.L.D. shrank suddenly. Another Keter-level anomalous containment. The huge conference room suddenly fell silent. According to the previous comparison of crystal vines and other contained items, they infer Keter's dangerous level should be higher than Euclid's. They feel that the Euclid class should be similar to sculptures and shy people. Although once encountered, it is also very dangerous, but the scope of the impact should not be large. Didn't it say? This time, the abnormal containment 469 is as dangerous as the crystal vine. A little carelessness may cause disasters that spread to the whole world. Thinking of the terrifying spreading effect of the crystal vine, all S.H.I.E.L.D. executives couldn't help shaking. Kamar Taj, Myriad Wings Angel, Keter level. The Ancient One magician also frowned tightly. Listen to the name. It is absolutely impossible for the abnormal containment items in this inventory to exist in this dimension. Is it something like Angel? Ancient One guessed in his heart. She also deduced that the Keter class is definitely more dangerous than the Euclid class. This 10,000 Wings Angel can be classified as Keter level by the Foundation. It is very likely to be the most powerful existence in another dimension. Thinking of this, she couldn't help becoming vigilant. Xavier Ability Academy, Myriad Wings Angel. Looking at the content in the light curtain, the aged Professor X was taken aback for a moment. A figure gradually appeared in his mind. Is it an ability similar to Warren's? As a mutant, he accepts anomalous containment faster than S.H.I.E.L.D. But, the abilities of those abnormal containment objects still made him feel a little terrified. The Myriad Wings Angel this time, I don't know what it is, it seems to be more dangerous than the previous abnormal containment. It would be great if these abnormal containment objects could deal with Black Bolt King's group of Inhumans. Professor X pondered. Black Bolt King is the leader of the Inhumans and the most powerful Inhumans. Although the Black Bolt King and the Inhumans were all driven to the different space Atalan. But the power of Black Bolt King is beyond doubt. Its ability is the ability to release devastating ultrasonic waves. Even if it is a whisper, the energy released is extremely terrifying. That is the strongest Inhuman race that is not even an Omega-level mutant. And at this moment, on the screen of the light curtain, the information has also been updated. Item description. The first impression of anomalous containment 469 is a pile of white feathers with a diameter of approximately 8.84 meters and a weight of several tons. However, after careful observation, it is found that the object is actually a series of huge amounts of white wings, tightly curled up to form a ball. Each wing is different in size, from a few centimeters to several meters, but all are covered with smooth white feathers. See this description. The agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was stunned for a moment. This 10,000 Wings Angel is actually such a weird thing. A bunch of wings put together. Can this thing be called Angel? However, although their hearts were strange, their recording speed was not slow at all. X-rays show that these wings have a hollow bone structure similar to other birds, but these bones are extremely soft and tough, allowing the wings to bend and curl to other birds. In fact, it is an angle that no vertebrate can reach. In the center of the object is a large humanoid creature curled up in a fetal shape, all wings connected to its spine. A huge humanoid creature wrapped in countless wings. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury and other agents immediately began to analyze based on these data. In other words, this thing is likely to have wisdom, just like the epidemic doctor. But after reaching this conclusion, they were even more horrified. An intelligent anomalous containment can still be judged to be Keter level. This danger is probably higher than that of crystal vines. So, what is the source of One Angel's danger? And at this time, the information in the light curtain has been updated again. Anomalous containment 469 seems to feed exclusively on sound and sound waves, using the energy obtained from them to renew and grow wings and feathers. The louder the sound and the higher the frequency, the faster the abnormal containment 469 will grow. While any sound can grow it seems to prefer musical, rhythmic sounds, especially ringtones. However, due to the sound-absorbing structure of its wings, anomalous containment 469 does not seem to make any sound. See these materials. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D. All the agents immediately looked at each other in blank dismay. This is the first time they have learned about this strange creature. An abnormal containment that feeds on sound. As long as it swallows sound, it can grow infinitely. How is this possible? Sound is just the form of material vibration, and it doesn't carry any energy. This simply violates the law of energy conservation. The building of physics has been toppled. An agent with scientific research background exclaimed. Hear this. All the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents rolled their eyes. So many strange anomalous containments have appeared before, and you are still struggling with the laws of physics. Nick Fury also showed horror on his face. The first thing he thought of was the danger of One Angel. This thing, even relying on this point, it can cause unimaginable damage. After all, the essence of sound is the vibration of matter. In any corner of the earth, it is impossible to have no sound, the only difference is the file size. That is to say, as long as One Angel appears, it will definitely grow crazily and cannot be restrained at all. Even if you encounter a certain concert or something, the growth rate can even be accelerated. At that time, I am afraid that it will not have to do anything with the countless wings, and it may cause unimaginable damage just with the infinitely growing volume. This feature, although it was a bit worse than the astonishing sprawl of the crystal vine, it was still terrifying. And the most important thing is that huge amounts of human figure inside the countless wings. This may be the key to One Angel being defined as Keter by the Foundation. Nick Fury murmured. Xavier Ability Academy. If you feed on sound, can you grow continuously? Seeing these materials, Professor X was immediately dumbfounded. He was thinking just now, if One Angel meets Black Bolt King, who is stronger? It turns out that this thing can swallow sound and strengthen itself. Isn't this the proper Black Bat King's nemesis? But it shouldn't be possible. The Black Bat King's sound waves are too destructive. These wings can be penetrated by X-rays, so they shouldn't be able to withstand the Black Bat King's sound wave attack. Professor X whispered. Then he laughed at himself again. The Black Bat King, together with the entire inhuman race, are all in Atalan, a different layer of space, not on Earth at all. It is completely impossible to encounter this stuff. How can I compare myself here? New York. Seeing this scene, Stark, who had just landed, was also stunned. An angel that can absorb sound and strengthen itself. In the past, he would have scoffed, but after experiencing the epidemic doctor, no matter how outrageous the abnormal containment is, he can accept it. Fortunately, this thing can't make a sound by itself, otherwise it will always be stuck with bugs. Stark shook his head. In the light curtain, the data continues to be refreshed on a rolling basis. Any people or animals that get too close to or touch the surface of this creature will be quickly wrapped and pulled inside by the outstretched wings. Although the feathers are very soft, the tip of each fluff is extremely sharp, which will quickly pierce the clothing and enter the flesh. At the same time, it will release a neurotoxin that can immediately stimulate the pain receptors in the body and stimulate other parts at the same time to ensure that the victim will not die too quickly. In this way, causing the victim to scream loudly, further feeding abnormal containment 469 until the victim died of shock. After this series of data appeared online, all kinds of discussions exploded in an instant. This thing has picked a target, but it still doesn't give decedent a good time, and wants to torture it to death. I don't know why, but I somehow thought of the Shy Man and the Foundation Doctor in the Jingman experiment records before, and I always feel that they are the same type as this 10,000 wings angel. Is this too messy? This thing is so evil, how dare it be called angel? Angel is the messenger of God. Shang Di will be furious and punish you blasphemers. There are definitely believers upstairs, but don't talk about angel, even God, the old man originally, hasn't been tricked by the doctor of the Foundation. New York, Stark, who just returned to his villa. Seeing this string of information, immediately I shuddered. In mind, I have encountered an epidemic doctor myself. The zombie-like anomalous containment 0492 scene. As well as, in the previous review video, the D-class personnel infected by the crystal vines, the miserable death. It emerged in an instant. That extreme fear swept over his whole body in an instant, making him tremble uncontrollably. When he met the epidemic doctor before, the psychological shadow brought to him by that horrifying scene was too great, and it was difficult to recover for a while. After half a sound, Stark gradually calmed down. He looked at the light curtain and took a deep breath. When encountering these abnormal objects contained by the Foundation, death might be a luxury. At this moment, in the light curtain, a line of information appeared again. Currently, all attempts to eliminate the anomalous containment 469 have failed. After seeing the last line of information, the whole shield up and down. Suddenly it quieted down. All shield executives are staring at the content in the light curtain. His face was full of shock. At present, all attempts by the Foundation to destroy the anomalous containment have failed. Although only a short sentence, but the news revealed in it is really amazing. To know, judging from the interactive experiment videos of the first two abnormal containment objects. In the Foundation, in order to achieve the goal, they will do everything they can. Even 343, who is called God, was regarded as a test object by the doctor of the Foundation. Even the crystal vines that can spread wildly, the Foundation has found a way to restrain its spread. Result, to the conclusion of this one angel. It turns out that all execution methods have failed. This thing, is it so outrageous? Nick Fury was also a little apprehensive. But, he still acted calmly, and said, in the information of the Foundation, it's just that it can't be processed, but it doesn't say that it can't restrain its growth, shit. When he was halfway through, I saw new attached information also surfaced. Addendum. It is forbidden to ring the bell near anomalous containment 469 not less than 15.24 meters away, including alarm bells and bell recordings. The ringing will cause the humanoid in the center to wake up, spread its wings and begin data expunged. Then, Nick Fury's eyes widened immediately, and he couldn't help cursing angrily, shit. After hearing the bell, will it cause the humanoid creature in the middle of the wings to wake up? Although at the end of the appendix, the result is the word, data deletion. But Nick Fury is very clear. That is definitely the biggest threat to One Angel. And the most troublesome part is, ringtones are definitely the most widely used music by humans so far. Ringtones can be found in almost every corner of the earth where there are humans. It can't be stopped at all. Although very curious, Nick Fury hopes that he will never know what is in the wings of One Angel. Kamar Taj. Try all means, but can't destroy it. The Ancient One magician stared at the screen, murmuring in a low voice. As for the attached information, she is really confident that the guy in One Angel can't wake up. After all, the material dimension cannot avoid sound and ringtones. But the spiritual dimension does. She can directly create a dimension and lock One Angel into it. Definitely, hands must be timely. The moment One Angel appeared, she was about to strike. Otherwise, when the guy in the countless wings of One Angel wakes up. Ancient One is not sure either. Can it be effective for yourself? I don't know. What happened in data expunged? She stared at the light curtain and murmured in a low voice. Xavier Ability Academy. The unknown creatures inside will wake up when they hear the bell. Professor X frowned slightly. A bold idea was instantly generated in his mind. If it is an intelligent creature, after it wakes up, can I mind control it? Thinking of this, Professor X immediately looked at the light curtain with bright eyes. And this time, the data in the light curtain slowly disappeared. Instead, a set of pictures emerged. Another containment that appeared in the live broadcast. Just for a moment, all forces on the planet immediately focused their attention on this. Immediately after seeing a style completely different from the buildings on Earth. A city built on a gigantic flying boulder suddenly appeared in the picture. Behold this majestic city in the sky. Countless people on the internet immediately started a heated discussion. Oh my god, a city flying in the sky. It's getting more and more outrageous. Is there such a place on Earth? God, isn't this city too majestic? It's hard to imagine how powerful technology and power it takes to fly such a big city in the sky. Don't look, this architectural style is definitely not a country on Earth, so this time Wani Angel appeared on an alien planet. What, not on Earth? That's boring. I also think that I really hope to see this 10,000 winged angel appear on Earth. Quote. Shield, seeing these comments on the internet. An agent couldn't help cursing. Did you see him? This group of idiots who don't think it's a big deal to watch the fun. The moment the image came out, Shield mobilized all data inquiries. After finally confirming that this flying city does not belong to the Earth, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. After all, this shows that Wani Angel probably didn't appear on Earth this time. In the end, these idiots still hope that Wani Angel will appear on Earth. This is literally making the Earth explode. Nick Fury was indeed staring at the screen with a look of shock on his face. As a 10th level agent in S.H.I.E.L.D., he has the highest authority and can look up information that other agents cannot see. He has some relevant information about the flying city in the picture. Atalan, Nick Fury whispered slowly. From what he knows, I only know that this seems to be a different dimension where the Inhumans stayed, and the rest is not very clear. But, as long as this dangerous 10,000 winged angel does not appear on Earth, it will be fine. Xavier Ability Academy. Professor X stared at the picture in the light curtain, his face full of astonishment. He stared at the screen for a long time. Kai's pupils shrank suddenly. Atalan, how could this thing appear there? This time, there is no one in the picture. It was a huge amounts of manner, in a dark utility room. A mass of huge amounts of feathers, piled up in a corner. It was faintly audible, the sound of small conversations coming from around. But, as time goes by, it can be clearly seen that this group of feathers is breathing very regularly. And, the number of feathers is actually increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. God, this is Wani Angel. It looks like raw materials piled up in a plush toy factory. Wait, I just saw it with my own eyes, a large new feather was really formed there. Fast forward, I can't wait to see Wani Angel spread her wings and kill all directions. To be honest, speaking of the plush toy factory, if this stuff is obtained by the plush toy factory, wouldn't the boss be crazy about it? It's just a constant stream of raw materials. 6. The capitalists are really awesome. Quote. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., the moment the screen appears, the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. began to carefully record the pictures. Double check. This is indeed not after the Earth. Nick Fury was completely relieved. Just then, the screen changed. Outside the utility room is a grand hall. In the hall, it was crowded with all kinds of people. Some people have fish fins on their faces, while others have flames on their heads. Everyone is obviously not an ordinary person. And at the top of the hall, a relatively ordinary-looking middle-aged man stood on the stage, watching all the strangers below. See this man. Professor X's pupils shrank suddenly. This is Maximus. Maximus. He is the younger brother of the Black Bolt King. In the Inhumans, just like Magneto in Mutant, he has always wanted to let the Inhumans rule ordinary humans. And now, others who saw this scene were also instantly filled with shock. God, these people here, could they be the legendary supernatural beings? Oh my god, there are actually all supernatural beings in this sky city. Wait a minute, if there are so many supernatural beings, then the next thing will be interesting. Wani Angel versus these supernatural beings. Thinking about this picture is exciting. Quote. Atalan. Inside the manor, Maximus looked at the group of different people with satisfaction. Although there were many of these aliens, and they all seemed to be talking, there was almost no sound in the hall at this moment. This is enough to prove that these aliens have completely agreed to submit to themselves. Cough. Thinking of this, Maximus couldn't help coughing, and said, everyone. But as soon as he opened his mouth, he froze. Own voice. Why is it suddenly so small? He looked around the crowd, but found nothing abnormal. Then, He winked at a stranger. The stranger next to him nodded, and immediately opened his hands. How could it be him? Professor X's face suddenly sank. This alien, whose extraordinary ability is the ability to amplify sound waves, is one of Black Bolt's personal subordinates. He's all here. Did Black Bolt agree with Maximus? This is not good. On the screen, after the Inhumans activated their abilities, Maximus' voice was indeed much louder. And all the different people in the audience. After seeing the strange man next to him, he immediately showed a deep shock. Everyone, you were right. Maximus showed satisfaction, and smiled. My big brother Black Bolt finally agrees with my point of view. The Earth should always be ruled by our Inhumans. Then, he began to speak directly and emotionally. On the Earth network, countless people who saw this scene were shocked. Good guy. This speech ability is absolutely amazing. Reminds me of the Führer. I could hear my blood boiling through the screen, and I pinched my 2 balls on the spot. That's how passionate I am. God, hell, isn't this demagoguery ability too strong? I hear it so much that I want to join them and overthrow the human tyranny. Didn't that person's special ability amplify his voice just now? Isn't this special ability to accelerate Wanyi Angel's growth? Wanyi Angel, thank you for the gift of nature. Quote. New York, inside the mountain house. Amplify the sound. And beside Wanyi Angel. Stark looked a little weird. According to Wanyi Angel's information. Isn't this simply a paradise for him? There was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. These supernatural beings. What will happen if Wanyi Angel is found? S.H.I.E.L.D. Hearing this speech, the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. suddenly frowned. Whether it's S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hydra undercover. Would never hope. The supernatural beings in this entire city are here to invade the Earth. Their sight involuntarily transferred to the recorded Wanyi Angel information. At this moment, a strange emotion was rarely raised. A hint of looking forward to it. On the screen. Over time, the voice of Maximus's speech became smaller and smaller. He frowned and looked at the stranger next to him. Did this guy betray himself? The alien who could amplify sound waves was sweating profusely, and also looked puzzled. He has clearly activated his abilities with all his strength. But Maximus' voice is still getting smaller and smaller. It's just like those voices amplified by him disappeared inexplicably. He suddenly looked in the direction of the utility room. The closer the sound is, the smaller it seems. Ah, what is this thing? And at this moment, in the utility room, suddenly there was an extremely shrill scream. Although, the scream sounded for only a moment, and then disappeared. But all the Inhumans present heard this sentence very clearly. What sound? Before they could react, the door of the utility room suddenly shattered open. Immediately after seeing, the white feathers that filled the entire utility room overflowed directly from the utility room. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., seeing this scene, the pupils of all the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shrank suddenly. In this frame, it was only a minute or two before Wanyi Angel's feathers appeared. Wanyi Angel has become so big. This growth rate is too amazing, right? It may be because the Inhumans amplified their voices. Nick Fury also took a deep breath. But even so, this myriad wings angel is too dangerous. If this were on Earth, the consequences are unimaginable. In the picture of the light curtain, seeing this ball of feathers, Maximus was taken aback for a moment. When did this utility room accumulate so many feathers? As soon as his words fell, I saw those feathers suddenly squirm. An alien, just like that, these feathers were slowly vomited out. He wasn't dead yet, but his whole body was lying in the pile of feathers, tightly wrapped by these feathers, making it difficult to struggle. No, not just packages. Maximus' pupils shrank suddenly. He could clearly see that the ends of these feathers were like the tiniest barbs, piercing every part of the Inhuman's body. Even the slightest struggle will be involved and cause extreme pain. The stranger's face at the moment was filled with a terrified expression. The mouth is also struggling to open to the maximum, and the veins are bursting, as if trying to vent the pain with all its strength. However, strangely, he didn't even make a sound. This weird scene, immediately, all the Inhumans couldn't help but feel horrified. In fact, it's not just them. Everyone who saw this scene could only feel a sense of horror sweeping through their bodies. Oh my god, this, I'm afraid it's worse than dying, right? When I first read the text, I thought it was terrifying. When the picture really appeared, I realized that this is a despair that cannot be described in words. The most important thing is that you can't scream if you want to scream, and you won't die for a while, you have to be tortured all the time. This is simply a double torture of physical and psychological. It's crazy. If you really encounter this thing, I suggest you commit suicide directly, otherwise it will be difficult to die. Wait, aren't these people with supernatural abilities? Hurry up and release their supernatural abilities. Quote. Adelan, what is this thing? Maximus was also startled. But he quickly reacted, and then quickly ordered, get him out. Now is the critical period for him to launch a coup, and nothing can go wrong. After the order is received, the Inhumans behind him immediately started to act. An Inhuman's hands turned into branches, trying to pull the trapped Inhuman out. However, he just touched that alien. Those feathers then clung to his body. It directly pulled him into the feather pile. Just for a moment. Extreme pain and panic appeared on his face, and he stretched out a hand with difficulty, as if he wanted to ask for help. However, he is also the same as the previous alien. Even though it seemed that he had tried his best to scream for help, he still couldn't make a sound. Seeing this sudden scene, the eyes of the remaining strangers could not help showing fear. What the hell is this? Set on fire. Maximus said in a deep voice. Brush, brush, brush. Next moment, several Inhumans with flame abilities directly activated their abilities. Several boiling flames were thrown onto the large ball of feathers. Crackling, the feathers covering the two Inhuman races immediately ignited, and many feathers were directly burned to ashes. Upon seeing this, Maximus breathed a sigh of relief. At this rate, it takes a few minutes to burn off all the feathers. Asgard, that's it. Loki stares at the screen, disdain in his eyes. He read Wani Angel's profile before. How powerful is this anomalous containment? As a result, it was dealt with immediately after a fire. And all execution methods failed. Sure enough, it's just a group of mortals. Loki shook his head disdainfully. Shield. All agents. They all stared blankly at the content in the light curtain. Can the flame actually burn the feathers of the 10,000 Wings Angel? In the Foundation's information, didn't it mean that Wani Angel was not executed successfully after all the methods were tried? They don't believe it, based on the information currently revealed by the Foundation. Did he ever think of using flames to execute Wani Angel? Don't these aliens release ordinary flames? Nick Fury frowned slightly. But he still felt, it's probably not that simple. He looked up at the light curtain again. The pupils shrank suddenly. On the screen of the light curtain, that gigantic pile of feathers. It was indeed burned a lot by the flames. However, strangely, as time goes on, the number of those feathers has not diminished. On the contrary, there are more and more. What the hell is going on? Maximus and a group of strangers were also confused. And the next moment, mishap and rebirth. Adelan, Maximus, and the faces of all the alien races were full of horror at the moment. These growing ashes on the ground. It is enough to prove that the flame can burn this weird feather. But why are there more and more of these feathers? This only proves that, while they were burning the feathers were still growing. Quick, this thing must be destroyed. Maximus yelled. But soon, he couldn't yell anymore, because, from the mass of feathers that filled the cubby room and grew larger, a huge amounts of feathered wings burst out, pulled his whole body into the feather ball. Next moment, he understood why the two aliens had such painful expressions on their faces. The moment the wings wrapped around him, countless fine hairs directly pierced the skin of his whole body. Immediately afterwards, an unimaginable pain came instantly. That is the pain that directly acts on the nerves, and it cannot be resisted by willpower at all. And, his brain was still extremely clear, and he felt the pain very clearly. This caused his face to become extremely distorted in an instant, and he couldn't help but roar in pain. The key is, he clearly felt that he had screamed out. However, the slightest sound could not be conveyed. But, now he has no mood to care about these. The extreme pain instantly swept through every corner of the body. Let him not have any extra thinking ability. I can only scream instinctively. The regime, the rule of the earth, the glory of the inhuman race. He doesn't think about everything at this moment. Now I just want to die and end this extreme pain. However, for him at this moment, death is a luxury. And at the same time, brush, brush, brush. Quote. Several more huge amounts of wings drilled out of it at the same time, attacking the remaining Inhumans. Get out. Don't come here. Don't come here. Help. No, do not want. Who can tell me what the hell is this? Quote. The remaining Inhumans roared in horror, urging their abilities one after another. However, this can only accelerate the growth rate of the feather. Soon, except for a few speed-like aliens who escaped and ascended to heaven, all the Inhumans in this manner were all dragged into that huge growing mass of feathers. On the screen of the light curtain, on the surface of the feathers of Angel of Wings, there are many strangers. None of them died, and the expressions on their faces became extremely distorted because of the unbearable pain. But they couldn't make a sound. In Nuo Da's manner, it was silent, just a ball of pure white and flawless feathers, growing and growing constantly. And the painful expressions of those Inhumans. This picture. It's really scary. Countless people who saw this scene felt their scalps go numb. Kamar Taj. The faces of all the magic apprentices were full of horror. Ancient One magician is staring at the light curtain. She looked at the picture. The myriad wings angel whose growth rate has further expanded due to the absorption of a large amount of sound. His face was instantly filled with seriousness. This thing. The growth rate is simply too fast. S.H.I.E.L.D. Along with Natasha Romanoff, all S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. It also has the same creepy look on his face. As an agent, the training of bearing pain is the only way for them to go through. But, judging from the expressions of these supernatural beings, that pain, I'm afraid they can't bear it. Fortunately, this thing didn't appear on Earth. A look of fear flashed across Nick Fury's eyes. Wan Yi Angel's growth rate is much faster than he imagined. So many supernatural beings, there was nothing they could do about this 10,000 winged angel, they were simply massacred one-sidedly. If this thing really came to Earth, did they really have a way to contain it? And the scariest part of Wan Yi Angel, the humanoid creature in the endless feathers has not yet awakened. No wonder, the Foundation is going to classify it as Keter class containment. And it was also concluded that it could not be executed. It is already very good to be able to restrain its growth rate. And now on the internet, after a brief silence, it was completely boiling. Oh my god, this scene is too scary, right? Just take a random picture, it's like a horror movie. Oh my god, it would be nice if there was a sound, but the point is that there is no sound at all, only those scary expressions, which are really scary. It's a pity that I didn't see that mysterious humanoid creature wake up. Now I'm even more curious. 6. Upstairs, are you really not afraid at all? This humanoid creature has not even woken up, it is already hanging like this. If it wakes up, then there may be no chance. Wait, it seems not necessarily. What do these supernatural beings want? On the screen, those Inhumans with speed abilities. After fleeing the manor with a face full of horror, he came to a guard tower. Alarm, sound the alarm. There are monsters. There are monsters. King, quick, you must let the king know all this. Next moment, a shrill siren, it resounded throughout the entire flying city. Seeing this scene in the picture, inside S.H.I.E.L.D., all the agents had strange looks on their faces. Although Wan Yi Angel has grown to an extremely terrifying level. But in that flying city, after all, there are so many supernatural beings, and there is still a chance to restrain Wan Yi Angel. Result. These people actually turned on the alarm. But, they are also looking forward to it. Want to see, what will it look like after the humanoid creature in the center of the Wan Yi Angel feather wakes up. Anyway, it's not Earth there either. On the screen. The moment the bell rang, the speed of Wan Yi Angel's growth slowly stagnated. Those curled up wings suddenly opened. Immediately afterwards, a huge figure curled up slowly revealed its figure. Although only a fetus. But everyone who saw this scene couldn't help breathing. Because, the temperament of this figure is really too holy. So that, all the Inhumans in Atalan who saw this scene were stunned on the spot. Xavier Ability Academy. Is this the real angel? Professor X couldn't help mumbling to himself in a low voice. Before him, when seeing the information of this anomalous containment -4.69 million wings angel, He also thought it might be a creature similar to Warren. But now it seems that this idea is simply ridiculous. Compared to this creature, Warren is like a birdman with wings. Professor X couldn't help murmuring in a low voice. Compared to this figure, Warren was an insult to this figure. Then, he stared at the picture in the light curtain. And at this time, a figure in black tights appeared on the screen of the light curtain. The king. The king is here. Great. This monster will be destroyed by the king soon. King, destroy this thing. Quote. With the appearance of this figure, countless Inhumans immediately cheered. Black Bolt. Professor X's pupils shrank suddenly. This is the most powerful Inhuman, not even an Omega-level mutant. Because his abilities are really too powerful. So much so that he devoted a long time to training not to open his mouth to speak. At first, Professor X felt that once the Black Bat King appeared, the 10,000 winged angel would only be destroyed instantly. But he just saw Wani Angel's terrifying growth rate and strength, and now he is not so sure about it. It could be a lose-lose situation. Professor X said silently. Atalan, looking at Wani Angel, Black Bolt King's expression suddenly became extremely angry. Die. Then, he growled. Next moment, the powerful sound waves immediately poured towards Wani Angel. Where the sound waves pass, all the buildings were instantly destroyed and turned into ashes. Even on the ground, there are also cracks one after another. And this time, this sound wave has swept to the vicinity of Wani Angel. Wani Angel's endless wings in front. At the moment of encountering the sound wave, it was also destroyed almost instantly and turned into ashes. Seeing this scene, Black Bolt King's face could not help showing a classic crooked mouth confident smile. But soon, the smile on his face disappeared. Because when his sound wave hit the huge baby, it failed to cause any damage. It was directly absorbed by the opponent. How can this be? Black Bolt was stunned for a moment. Next moment, endless wings. At an unimaginable speed, it grew wildly from the back of Wani Angel. Almost instantly, the wings behind the angel. It has already doubled than before it was destroyed, even more. And, still growing rapidly, Black Bolt King also showed horror on his face. This is the first time he has encountered such a weird opponent. At this time, several wings attacked him in an instant. Next moment, he was wrapped by the endless wings. The extreme pain suddenly spread all over the body. The Black Bolt King couldn't help screaming in horror. However, this time, his scream did not have any terrifying sound waves coming out. It was directly absorbed by Wani Angel. This also leads to the growth rate of Wani Angel became more and more terrifying. Soon, the entire Atalan was filled with endless wings. This moment, everyone who saw this scene couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. God, isn't this too scary? It's grown so quickly that the entire Sky City is covered. This, is it over? Oh my God, the king of this supernatural person made me laugh so hard, he was so handsome on stage, but it ended in a second. Quote. Xavier Ability Academy. Professor X's face was immediately filled with a thick expression of disbelief. This is the end. No, the Black Bat King, who is comparable to the Omega-level mutant, was instantly killed by this 10,000 wings angel. He thought there would be a fierce battle. And Black Bat King also let this 10,000 wings angel grow rapidly and crazily again. The whole Inhumans, with all Atalan, was it just wiped out by Wani Angel? The abnormal containment is so powerful and terrifying. Shield, hiss, the sound of gasping for air constantly sounded one after another in Shield. Every Shield agent, the look of shock on his face couldn't fade away at all. Originally, when they saw the appearance of Black Bolt King and the powerful supernatural ability displayed, they were still deeply shocked. As a result, the next moment, was such a powerful supernatural being instantly killed by this abnormal containment. The key is, in almost a few minutes, so the majestic city of Nobita is completely occupied by endless wings. This is too scary. Fortunately, this thing is not on Earth. Nick Fury couldn't help but said. If on Earth, the ending is probably not much better than that of Atalan. Kamar Taj. Is this the end? Ancient One Magician frowned deeply. Wani Angel's growth rate was far beyond her imagination. But, to her surprise, until the screen ends, They didn't even see the Foundation's agent make a move to contain Wani Angel. Perhaps being trapped in that heterogeneous space is the best containment. The Ancient One magician murmured in a low voice. Definitely, she guessed, the greater possibility is that the video of the containment was not broadcast live. New York, inside the mountain house. Is this the Keter-level anomalous containment? Stark shook his head in shock. Even though Wani Angel is not as scary as that sculpture. But this danger is really too terrifying. These supernatural beings, although I don't have the ability, technology may allow me to have this ability. I took several deep breaths. Stark took out a disc and decided to play some music. I want to ease the shock in my heart. But at this moment, in the light curtain, new information emerged again. Inventory of the top 10 abnormal containment objects of the Foundation. The 5th place. Chapter 31. Inventory of the top 10 abnormal containment objects of the Foundation. See this string of text. Stark's pupils shrank suddenly. The inventory is starting again so soon. His hand holding the CD couldn't help shaking. Think about it. Or choose to sit down again, looking at the light curtain vigilantly. Shield. The new inventory video is here again. Nick Fury took a deep breath. For the Foundation's inventory video, he has given up any hope. There are simply no idea how many of these containment objects there are. Just hope it's not a Keter-class containment this time. Nick Fury murmured under his breath. Whether it is the abnormal containment 409 crystal vines, or the abnormal containment minus 4.06 million wings angel. The shock it gave him was too great. This level of containment really appeared on the Earth. It is simply an unpredictable disaster. Asgard. That 10,000 wings angel is actually so strong. Loki was still in shock from Angel of the Thousand Wings. That last scene, Wani Angel kills Black Bat King in seconds, and grows rapidly until it fills the entire flying city. The shock it gave him was too great. He also had to admit. This anomalous containment is too strong. Definitely, it's because of that person who fed it too much food. Loki said to himself. Otherwise, it is impossible for Wani Angel to grow so fast. The myriad wings angel at the beginning, if he knew the characteristics, he would have a way to contain it. Thinking of this, a flash of lightning suddenly flashed in his mind. Etc. Loki was shocked all of a sudden. What if Wani Angel was deliberately put there by this Foundation to let it grow? But the next moment he shook his head. Whether or not. After all, this is just a mortal trick. He is a god. Then, he stared at the content on the light curtain, and couldn't help muttering in a low voice, this time, I don't know what it is. And at this time, in the light curtain, a new piece of information suddenly emerged. 5th place. Abnormal Containment Object 093 Red Sea Object. Object Class. Euclid. Seeing this string of information. Shield up and down. Immediately everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's just Euclid class. Nick Fury's body immediately relaxed a lot. In their inference, Euclid class, it should be the kind of abnormal containment that can only cause a small range of threats. Although dangerous and weird, but it's much better than the Keter-level anomalous containment that can easily destroy the Earth, isn't it? Immediately afterwards, the information in the light curtain is updated again. Anomalous Containment 093 is a mainly red disk, carved from a composite stone similar to cinnabar, and covered with unknown symbols and circular notches up to 0.5 centimeters deep. Disk. New York, inside the mountain house. Seeing this first message, Stark screamed suddenly. He broke out in a cold sweat, and looked at the disk in his hand in disbelief. Then he instinctively shook his body and threw the disk out. Until you see the rest of the information. He was relieved. Fortunately, my disk is blue, and there are no other symbols. Oh shit, I thought I was so unlucky that I encountered an abnormal containment again. And at this time, the rest of the information also began to be revealed. Anomalous Containment 093 has a diameter of 7.62 centimeters, which can fit comfortably in the palm of most people without wear and tear. When held by a living being, the hue of Anomalous Containment 093 will change. See these materials. Stark raised his eyebrows. A disc that changes hue when you hold it. He hesitated a bit, looking at the disc that was thrown far away by himself. Then, I took out all the discs in storage and looked at them once. After confirming that there is no problem, He breathed a sigh of relief and fell limply on the sofa. Fortunately not. But even if we meet again, Stark muttered to himself as if to cheer himself up. And at this time, the information in the light curtain is updated again. If anomalous containment 093 is removed from the mirror and left unattended, it will search for the closest mirror-like surface. Anomalous containment 093 has been observed to move along the largest possible circle within the feasible range and tumble continuously, and then gradually increase to an astonishing speed. The acceleration mechanism is still unknown. If there is an obstacle between abnormal containment 093 and the nearest mirror-like surface, it will use this momentum to break through the obstacle and continue to maintain its course and speed until it comes into contact with the mirror-like surface. If there is an obstacle between abnormal containment 093 and the nearest mirror-like surface, it will use this momentum to break through the obstacle and continue to maintain its course and speed until it comes into contact with the mirror-like surface. Despite the extremely high collision speed, neither the anomalous containment 093 nor the mirror will be damaged. See these materials. Stark's body, which had been relaxed, froze again. To be honest, I'm not afraid of. He shrugged to himself. How could it be possible for me to encounter an abnormal containment object again? Impossible. But after a while, he still stood up solemnly, and searched in the villa. When looking for the bedroom on the second floor, Stark's pupils shrank suddenly, and he couldn't help shaking. God bless, how is this possible? On the mirror, a red disc with many symbols engraved on the back. It fits tightly with the mirror. Looking at the disc glued to the mirror, Stark couldn't help but curse. Why did I encounter the abnormal containment of the Foundation again? He wanted to run away immediately. But, after hesitation for a while, he finally chose to stay. It's just a disc. No matter how weird it is, it shouldn't be too weird. Stark stared at the disc. Looking at the data on the light curtain again, he said, let's see where it is abnormal. At this moment, the information in the light curtain has been updated again. According to the mood of the holder, the hue of abnormal containment object 093 will change among the 5 colors of blue, green, purple, yellow, and red. When the abnormal containment 093 is close to the mirror, the living body holding the abnormal containment 093 can pass through the mirror. After passing through the mirror, you will reach different otherworld areas according to the color. It will change color when you hold it. Can you travel to the otherworld if you stick to the mirror? Stark froze for a moment. Immediately, his eyes sparkled. Looking at this information, it seems that there is no active danger. S.H.I.E.L.D. All the top executives of S.H.I.E.L.D. were taken aback for a moment. From published information, this anomalous containment called the Red Sea object. It seems to be different from other anomalous containment objects. Like, if the holder does not take the initiative to cause trouble, will there be any danger? Moreover, basically no matter who encounters this thing, they should be afraid. No one would be so stupid to find an abnormal containment, and dare to take the initiative to go in. One agent breathed a sigh of relief, and even dared to crack a joke. This time, I think we S.H.I.E.L.D. can do it, the bald agent said. Other S.H.I.E.L.D. executives also nodded. This thing. Not only does it look harmless, and the most unusual thing seems to be the ability to travel to the otherworld through the mirror. Kamar Taj, the Red Sea object, through the mirror to travel to a different otherworld. Ancient One magician couldn't help frowning. This Red Sea object, is it a magic weapon? This otherworld, she thinks it should refer to other dimensions. But, it takes a lot of energy to travel across dimensions. Magical artifacts that can travel through dimensions are very precious. And at this time, the data on the light curtain suddenly disappeared. Instead, is a set of pictures. Seeing the figure in the screen, Ancient One was taken aback for a moment. He couldn't help but exclaimed, Stark, why is it him again? At this moment, the internet has exploded. What, it's Stark again. I'm dying of laughter. It's Stark's luck to encounter 2 anomalous containment objects in such a quick succession, ha 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 ha. Fortunately, the anomalous containment this time doesn't look too dangerous, otherwise I feel that Stark's spirit is going to be confused. Stark seems to be at home this time. I'm not too far away. Brothers, I'm going to verify the authenticity right away. Wait for my good news. Quote. On the screen of the light curtain. After confirming that there are no other abnormal effects, Stark took a deep breath. Step forward, took the red saucer off the mirror. Unexpectedly, didn't encounter any resistance. And, Di's eyes didn't change either. Huh, why hasn't it changed? By the way, red is also one of the 5 colors. Stark whispered. He looked at the glasses, hesitation. Still holding the plate in his hand, he entered a laboratory on the first floor of the villa. Then, find a mirror directly, place the Red Sea object on the other side of the table after separating a table in the middle. Next moment, the Red Sea object rolled directly, easily bypassed the table, and directly attached to the mirror. High speed. However, as shown in the data, neither the mirror nor the Red Sea objects were damaged in any way. It is as expected. Stark's pupils shrank suddenly, and the trace of fear in his eyes was quickly dispelled. Then, he held the mirror in his hand and kept shaking it. No matter how he shakes it, the Red Sea object will eventually be attracted by the mirror, and adsorbent will be firmly on it. After doing a few more experiments, Stark's eyes were filled with excitement immediately. Sure enough, the Red Sea object will actively look for the mirror no matter what, and neither side will be broken. Wait, what if this is the case? He directly fetched 2 mirrors and placed the Red Sea object in the middle. Seeing this scene, the barrage suddenly boiled. Good guy. Is this why rich people are rich? Now that you encounter this kind of anomalous containment, the first thing you think of is to do experiments. Are you not afraid? By the way, wasn't Stark frightened by the epidemic doctor last time? He dared to experiment with abnormal containment objects this time. Not serious, you guys. It's crazy. I said upstairs, so many things happened, you still don't believe it's true. Quote. On the screen of the light curtain. When placing the Red Sea object between 2 mirrors. Hardly any delay. The Red Sea object moved quickly towards a mirror, and then clung to it tightly. Stark did it several more times. In the end, he concluded, no matter what, the Red Sea object will be attached to the nearest mirror. Then, his gaze was fixed on the Red Sea object. Current experiments can only go so far. If you want to go one step further, you can only enter the worlds inside through the Red Sea objects. Seeing this scene, inside S.H.I.E.L.D., what does this kid want to do? He can't be so stupid. Nick Fury's brow twitched suddenly. Obviously, if you don't take the initiative to enter the otherworld through the Red Sea object, there is no danger. You can see Stark like this. He seems to want to try. And the next moment, just see, Stark holds the Red Sea object in his hand. Pasted it on a mirror taller than a person. Then, he touched the mirror. The surface of the entire mirror, like water, has a wavy texture in an instant. Next moment, Stark took a deep breath and went straight into the mirror. How dare Stark go right in? Don't he know that these abnormal containments are all dangerous? Obviously everything is fine so far, but he actually took the initiative to look for danger. Shit, what's going on in his head? Quote. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., many agents suddenly boiled up. And all the top executives of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is to look at the content in the light curtain intently. Since Stark is so courageous, he wants to use his life to check the truth inside this Red Sea object. They also happen to be able to take a look. What the hell is in here? Has the special operations team started? Asked Nick Fury. Director Nick Fury confirmed that the abnormal containment object appeared in the Stark villa this time, and the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have already acted. A S.H.I.E.L.D. agent reported. Immediately afterwards, he hesitated again, and said, however, General Ross and the others have also acted. Said to fully take over this incident. General Ross. Nick Fury was taken aback for a moment, and then slammed the table. S.H.I.E.L.D. should be responsible for this kind of thing, why is the military joining in the fun? The voice just fell. In the picture of the light curtain, countless soldiers directly surrounded the entire mountain villa. At the same time, a huge amounts of military truck also stopped in front of the mountain villa, and something seemed to be imprisoned inside. And seeing this scene, the internet exploded immediately. Shit, the military is actually dispatched. I'm near here, and I'm pretty sure that it's really the military dispatch. Oh my god, don't tell me, those abnormal containments that were counted before are all real. Probably all of them. General Ross and Colonel Rhodes have appeared in the military. Who can invite them to take pictures? By the way, the organization that filmed this thing can even make something like a light curtain. It doesn't seem difficult to understand if it asks the military for help. It's all up to now, why are you still unwilling to believe this is the truth? Quote. Inside the mountain villa, General Ross and Colonel Rhodes, under the protection of a group of soldiers, at the same time entered the villa. First timing, they found the mirror. In the mirror, holding the Red Sea object, Stark is observing a cylindrical object with huge amounts of it. On the top of the pillar, there are many caves. From time to time, a ray of light will bloom from inside the cave. Stark's attention, obviously attracted by these rays of light, I couldn't help but lean forward to watch it. Immediately afterwards, the picture in the mirror moves. Can be seen, in those lights, it also has the same thing as the Red Sea object in Stark's hand. A frightened expression appeared on Stark's face. Oh shit, Stark, come out, you're nuts, General Rhodes couldn't help but exclaimed. However, obviously Stark in the mirror couldn't hear what he said. There are so many Red Sea objects. General Ross's eyes lit up immediately. There are too many of these Red Sea objects. If it can be shipped out, wouldn't it be possible to directly organize an army to enter this different space in the Red Sea object? Inside the mirror, Stark was soon in front of the pillar. Saw a ladder on the floor leading down to the ground. A little hesitation, Stark took a deep breath and stepped down the ladder. Then, he found himself in a large clean room. In the room, lots of old computer equipment on display. Here is a laboratory. Looking at these computers, Stark's eyes were filled with surprise. Those fears at the beginning has been completely replaced by excitement. He continued to search the room. Soon, then I saw a huge screen that was still flickering. Clean, unclean, clean, unclean, losing contact, unclean. Stark froze for a moment. Seeing this scene, inside S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury's brows were also tightly knit together. So many computers, that is to say, at least the civilization of the electronic age was born here before. Shouldn't be as dangerous as other anomalous containments. But, he stared at the flashing words on the screen. Always feel. These flashing words have special meanings. Clean, unclean. He murmured a few times. Suddenly the pupil shrank suddenly. On the screen of the light curtain. These seemed to be some kind of warning. Stark stared at the light curtain, couldn't help exclaiming. Then, Stark took a deep breath, calmed down slowly, and continued to search the room. Wait, is this computer still on? He stops in front of a computer in the camera of the room. On the computer screen, several documents immediately attracted his attention. Report, Situation X-549, Situation X-550, Evacuation Log. Stark murmured under his breath. These words, this further confirmed his guess just now. The words on the screen are a warning. Or, is a record. Then, Stark's eyes stayed firmly on the last file on this computer. Report from Agent X. Stark's pupils shrank suddenly. Report from Agent X. See this content. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D. All the top executives of S.H.I.E.L.D. were shocked. The data has been deleted. Could it be that Foundation's report again? Nick Fury murmured under his breath. Then, everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. focused their attention on this. Call. Took a deep breath. Stark opened the file. Immediately, a long string of words appeared in front of his eyes. My name is X, an agent of the Foundation, and my world is in 1972. In this world, I'm assuming it's the same as mine, but from what I've seen, the creatures of this world ended around 1954 due to anomalous containment 093. I have used anomalous containment 093 to visit some places, starting from this center and ending from this center. I have seen those landscapes where not a blade of grass grows. I also tried to escape from the unclean ones, who chased everything they felt. I don't understand how they hunt, but I understand what they are. Seeing this string of information, Stark shuddered for a moment. Kamar Taj. Because of anomalous containment 093, all creatures in this world are finished. The expression of Ancient One Magician couldn't help but become serious. As the Sorcerer Supreme, her role is to prevent the Earth from being invaded by other dimensions. What is the so-called unclean? In her mind, he couldn't help but think of the few words that flashed on the screen just now. Clean, unclean. Is it to resist the invasion of these unclean people, or pollution? But in the end they failed. S.H.I.E.L.D. No. Impossible. How could this thing destroy the world? No, how is this thing possible? Isn't he just a thing that can travel through space? Unclean. Could it be because of that unclean? What is this? Quote. All the agents suddenly felt their scalps go numb. Before they thought, this Red Sea object can be said to be the least threatening containment so far. So I was relieved. As a result, the information in the turning head shows. This thing actually destroyed a world. Isn't this a Euclid-class containment? Nick Fury's body also trembled slightly, and he felt his brain pumping. After half a sound, he took a deep breath and said, maybe our previous speculation was wrong. The levels of these abnormal containment objects may not be divided according to the degree of threat. But now, obviously, is not the time to care about these. His eyes turned to the light curtain again. Mountain House. The thing that destroyed the world. Colonel Rhodes' pupils shrank suddenly. HMPH. Didn't you see it, Colonel? That's just because the world was in 1954. Now our era, technology is far beyond what that era can understand. General Ross sneered. He couldn't help but quietly looked at the armored vehicle surrounded by the military. In the mirror world, Stark continued to flip through the documents. About 350 years ago, the world experienced a technological explosion that our world did not have. The source of all this seems to be caused by the coming of him. A god-like existence of unknown origin. He claims that the world is unclean and full of sin, and the only way to purify original sin is to purify sinners. After a war, whoever survives is pure. In the next 10 years, the science and technology of all civilizations have been greatly improved to prepare for this war. During this period, he disappeared. Anyway, war was waged. It seems that the basic weapon used in this battle for God's mercy is actually humans exposed to a liquid compound called holy tears. I have seen this compound in many abandoned medical facilities. Holy tears can cleanse the sins of the unclean and make them love God, at least that's what it says. Seeing this string of information, suddenly everyone was in an uproar. God, inside S.H.I.E.L.D., all the agents gasped. In the previous interactive video of 096, that 343 is called God. Does the so-called God in this material also refer to that kind of existence? It is because of him. Destroyed the whole world. Asgard. God again. These Midgardians are fools. Loki sneers. Since that unspeakable event, the Shendu no longer entered the earth. The gods in this material either do not exist at all like that 343. Or a false god. Mountain House. Human beings exposed to divine tears. General Ross's eyes sparkled. This must be some kind of genetic radiation, right? His gaze turned to the direction of the armored vehicle again. This is similar to his latest experiment. This time, his choice was not wrong, he came to the right place. In the records I recovered, the content of this war is very vague, except for the claim that his chosen saints have crossed the land of sin and brought sinners to their own sins. Those who resist his love who are purified by its radiance. The unclean is a huge half-humanoid creature that devours all living and breathing creatures they encounter. Those creatures are the products of exposure to very high purity tears of gods and lead to serious genetic mutations. They used to be humans like us. They cannot be contained, but they can be contained. They have regenerative healing factor, but they don't want that. They just want to die. See these materials. The unclean are the result of genetic mutations infected by these tears of God. General Ross was shaking with excitement. According to the description in the data, these unclean people have destroyed that world. The fighting power can be imagined. If I can control such an army, if only he could get the tears of God, can create an entire army of unclean. No, not even to get the tears of the gods. He only needs to extract the genes of these unclean people, and he feels that he can also create them. Kamar Taj. It really is an invader from Otherworld. Ancient One magician murmured in a low voice. However, regenerative healing factor. If I also got the so-called tears of God, if it is used and modified, is it possible to get the regenerative healing factor alone? Took a deep breath. Stark continued to read. They seem to be attracted by the tears of God, so a center will be set up in the center of different areas, and a person will stay there with the purest tears of God, keeping those unclean in a place called exhaustion inside the area. But those things went wrong later, the specific reasons are unknown, but everything fell apart. Power facilities, civilization, human beings, everything was reduced to ruins, and those unclean people who staggered on the earth became the new rulers of the earth, without any purpose and direction. I guess someone is hiding in this facility, or someone is right. I often hear voices and requests from the place below this floor. When seeing this, Stark suddenly felt creepy, and a chill hit his head. Anyone else? Is there a voice below? His ears stood up in an instant, and he didn't dare to move. It was quiet, after confirming again and again that there was no sound around him other than himself. How long has passed? The source of that voice has long since dissipated. Stark breathed a sigh of relief and continued to watch. In my mind, I haven't noticed until now, the equipment in this room is showing things to me, and the words displayed on the screen are all begging for help. I remember touching the tears of God, smelling it, tasting it, just touching it. I didn't eat it, I just touched it, tasted its acidity. I thought, our investigation process is really stupid, ha 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 ha. There is no war at all. Everything is made of it. He comes from the light and darkness of the world of time and space. But should not have entered this world, and they called it a god, and they adored it, and they tasted it, and touched it, and lived with it, and became its servants. See this last paragraph. In an instant, S.H.I.E.L.D. fell silent. All the agents felt their scalps tingling for a while. At first, the agent in charge of the investigation is still recording everything. But, ever since that agent touched the tears of God, everything has changed. Later words, it's all crazy and deranged raving. As the spirit polluted. Or, Nick Fury stared at the last piece of information. Find the truth about it. Can't bear the information and go crazy. That, God, seems like a fabricated lie. Created the so-called unclean, and then destroyed that world. And at this time, that data record was also read to the bottom by Stark. I kind of want to join them, but there's too much to do. They want me to find him and kill him. It came out of the rocks. Somehow, it knew where they were but couldn't touch them. But if you hide the rocks you can't get out and you're stuck in there. I found you, fool. I found you, bang bang ha ha. I bumped into him. With my fist. And guns. He fell. But he will get up. Will be soon. I'm sorry, I've done all I can. Let me sleep now, please. Let me sleep. Kamar Taj. Seeing these transcripts, all the magic apprentices trembled. Perhaps in the end, in order to prevent the God from entering his world, he took the initiative to find the God. He took the initiative to attack God. Ancient One magician stared at the last piece of information and sighed. The other magic apprentices, after hearing this sentence, suddenly they looked at each other in blank dismay. Such a powerful God. Even for apprentices like them who know magic, if this kind of thing really happens, only dare to escape. The agents of this foundation are nothing more than trained ordinary people. How dare they take the initiative to seek God? The Ancient One magician didn't speak, and sighed slightly in his heart. Sorcerer Supreme, why not? Those invaders from other dimensions are much stronger than Sorcerer Supreme. But the Sorcerer Supreme of all ages still took the initiative to attack those powerful invaders in order to protect the Earth dimension. And the agent of this foundation, courage is clearly stronger than Sorcerer Supreme. She couldn't help thinking, at the beginning of this stock-taking video, the declarations of the foundation. If the agents in that foundation are all people like this, what kind of a great organization is this? With a mortal body, against the gods. The Ancient One magician sighed softly. Foundation. Ancient One magician stared at the light curtain, speechless for a long time. The philosophy of the foundation is really too similar to hers. That was a belief that many magic apprentices never had. Make her feel like they are the same kind. She even has an impulse. I also joined the foundation myself. But, she finally sighed and said nothing. And at this moment, on the internet, it has already completely boiled over. God, dare to trouble the God who destroyed a world with just a gun. This big brother is awesome. Is this the agent of the foundation? Shit, I can see the tears. Hot blood. Too hot. If this is true, how much courage would it take? After I learned the truth, I fell into madness. The last thing I thought about was to find and destroy that God. We control, we protect, we contain. I only really understand this sentence after seeing what this agent is doing. The most important thing is, I don't know what the purpose is, this agent didn't even leave his name. Whether it's true or not, this is really admirable. Salute. Quote. At first, people are also discussing the authenticity of the foundation because of the actions of the military. But after seeing this report log, everyone was moved. The topic of discussion also shifted to the foundation. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., Nuo Da's S.H.I.E.L.D. is also quiet. Whether Hydra undercover, or the real agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., all fell into silence. S.H.I.E.L.D. was established as a special force to deal with various strange events. These agents, they also think that they are fighting for the Earth. But, they will be afraid too. When you encounter those powerful enemies, you will also be afraid. They ask themselves, if you encounter the same situation yourself, alone in the other world, looking for the horrifying truth, after the whole person went crazy. Absolutely can't do what this Foundation agent does. Find and kill the death god Ming. Nick Fury's eyes were also fixed on the picture in the light curtain. I just felt dazed for a while. This world. Does such a person really exist? Containment, protection. While others live in the sun, we must fight them in the shadows. In Nick Fury's mind, the picture from the beginning of the inventory video reappeared. And just when Nick Fury was full of emotion, an agent suddenly pointed at the light curtain. Shocked, he said, "Wait a minute. What is Stark trying to do?" Nick Fury was taken aback for a moment. Look at the light curtain. Then a dull look appeared on his face. This guy, couldn't he be brainwashed right now? In the picture of light. After Stark read the log, also fell into extreme shock. This agent, like me, is an ordinary person, at most it has been trained. Stark stared at the computer, muttering to himself, but after being extremely desperate, he dared to actively search for, and attempted to kill that god. In his mind, the original fear seemed to have dissipated. If he dares to do it, so can I. Also, the unnamed agent of this foundation was the last person to enter here. Stark looked at the Red Sea object in his hand. Since the Red Sea object appeared in my hand and brought me here, then this should also be my destiny. He just thinks. There was a rush of blood. Then, there was a look of death on his face. Fortunately, it works. Stark turned on the camera function of the computer, and decided to leave his own record here. My name is Stark. Crack. Next moment, a photo suddenly appeared on the computer screen. When seeing the content of the photo, Stark's blood froze instantly. In the photo, behind him, there was a vague figure standing silently behind him. Ghost. Stark turned his head, but there was nothing there. It made him even more horrified. His eyes kept turning back and forth between the photo in his hand and behind him. This scene, immediately, many people couldn't help but hook their mouths. What is the figure in this photo? A ghost. So many abnormal containment objects have appeared, and you are still surprised by the appearance of a ghost. I laughed to death. I thought Stark was as brave as that Foundation agent, but now I see it is still cowardly. Wait, tell me, is it possible that this figure is the soul of the dead agent? Quote. Kamar Taj. Well, the Ancient One magician frowned deeply. In the future she sees. In the end, Stark should also have great courage. With a mortal body, challenge the gods. But now, due to the appearance of the abnormal containment epidemic Dr. Stark never took that path, nor did he go through so many trials. Now he is not much better than ordinary people. It's also normal to feel scared. Only, I don't know if this is good or bad. The Ancient One magician murmured in a low voice. Inside the other world of the Red Sea object. Call. Stark gasped twice. Still dispelled the fear in my heart. He looked at the blurry figure behind him that seemed to be a soul in the photo. A moment later, Stark glanced at the information on the computer screen again. The heat surged up again. And just when Stark was about to make a move, the room suddenly went dark. Immediately after seeing a huge rotten head without facial features covered the entire window. Although there are no eyes. But Stark could clearly feel it. This thing, it seems to be watching yourself. That extreme fear instantly swept Stark's body. Next moment, Stark held the Red Sea object directly in his hand. The direction of the frantic comings and goings fled away. Shit, what was that thing just now? What a big head. Could this be the unholy one mentioned in the mission log? Hey, this is. I think it's actually not bad. After all, compared to those zombie-like things made by the epidemic doctor, this has to be accepted. Stark's blood is on. Stark is running away. Ha 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 ha. What's so funny about this? If this happens to you, you won't even be able to raise your blood. That's right. Not to mention Stark, a playboy. I think it's unbelievable that he can do this. Quote. The moment I saw that huge rotting head, instantly, the internet erupted. And the other side. The information only said that the unclean was big, but it didn't say that the uncle was so big. Running away, Stark cursed. The moment you see the unclean. A fear instantly grew in his heart, which made him calm down instantly. Although he also wants to do the same thing as that agent. But now that he stayed unarmed, it was obvious that he could only die. He really can't figure it out. How did the agent who wrote that record fight against such a thing? Not to mention, he behind this thing is now. And outside the window, the unclean watched Stark flee, moving slowly. Shield, quick, record all relevant information about the unclean. Nick Fury gave the order immediately. Rot, a head without facial features. The speed of movement seems to be very slow. In an instant. Speculations about the unclean, all recorded by Shield. Inside the mountain villa. Stark, you crazy, run. Seeing a good friend in danger. Colonel Rhodes couldn't help cursing in his heart immediately. On the other hand, General Ross's eyes were shining brightly. This is the unclean. What a great creation. If I could have an army like this, hey. What would a Hulk be? And at this moment, on the surface of the mirror in front of them, waves like water ripples suddenly appeared again. Immediately after seeing, Stark popped out of it instantly. It finally came out. Rhodes, why are you here? These are. Stark collapsed to the ground, panting heavily. He noticed Colonel Rhodes and a group of soldiers. He frowned suddenly. You still have the nerve to say it. Colonel Rhodes suddenly became angry. You know it's an abnormal containment, but why do you dare to go in? There's no need to do this if you want to die. Colonel Rhodes, there are more important things to do. General Ross stepped forward, looked at the Red Sea object in Stark's hand, and said, Mr. Stark, from now on, the abnormal containment object 093 Red Sea object has been requisitioned and kept by the military. Colonel Rhodes shrugged, showing helplessness. He came here because he was worried about Stark's safety, but he met General Ross, who also came on the way. No, this thing is too dangerous. And I need to. Stark refused directly. He's just made up his mind. After I have prepared enough, I will enter the Red Sea object again. Against those who are unclean. And Thadagod, Mr. Stark, this is not a request, but an order. General Ross said slowly. Finished speaking, the soldiers behind him immediately took aim at Stark. Hey, put it down. Colonel Rhodes waved his hands quickly. What do you want to do? A look of hesitation suddenly appeared on Stark's face. But he still had to hand over the Red Sea object. Okay, but I suggest you go in and try it alone. The inside is actually not bad, and there is no danger. Hearing this sentence, everyone's face suddenly became weird. Stark, everything that just happened to you was broadcast live. You can't fool him. Colonel Rhodes whispered. Stark's expression froze for a moment. General Ross took over the Red Sea object with extremely fiery eyes. In an instant, the Red Sea object is transformed from red to yellow. It really is true. Seeing this change, General Ross couldn't help breathing quickly. He looked at Stark. With a sneer, he ordered, release the hatred. Hate, what abomination. Stark was taken aback. Boom. Next moment, then suddenly the mountain shook. Immediately after seeing, a huge green ugly figure jumped out of the military armored vehicle. Jumped directly to the outside of the mountain villa step by step. Stark froze for a moment. But, after going through the Plague Doctor and the Red Sea object, he was no longer afraid of such things. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., abhorrence, the expressions of the agents suddenly changed. No wonder General Ross let the military get involved in this matter. He intended to use the unclean. Create an army of unclean. Ross is playing with fire. He dares to use such a dangerous thing. Doesn't he want to destroy the world? Nick Fury's complexion changed drastically. He never thought that Ross would be so courageous. He even put his mind on this. Emil, General Ross said, you know what you should do. Then, a soldier pulled out a needle with huge amounts of needles. And the Red Sea object. All handed to the Hate. The Unholy One's experiment, I'll be the first to do it, and kill the Hulk. Hate the red-eyed Dow. The moment he took over the Red Sea object. The original yellow Red Sea object also changed color again, becoming purple. Immediately afterwards, several soldiers brought in huge amounts of mirrors. Hate pinched the Red Sea object with his fingers, and stuck it to the mirror. Then, with a troop of soldiers prepared long ago, drilled directly into the mirror together. Inside shield. Why isn't it the laboratory just now? Have you forgotten? It was said in the Foundation's materials before that every time the Red Sea object changes color, it enters a different area. This seems to be a city. It seems more advanced than New York's technology. Quote. A group of SHIELD agents stared at the picture in the light curtain and began to analyze it. Ross should go to hell. Nick Fury's face darkened even more. Even though they knew that this thing had destroyed a world, they still dared to send troops in. He stared at the screen. His fists were clenched and creaked. On the screen of the light curtain, Hate and a group of heavily armed soldiers stepped into a dilapidated street. Judging from those towering buildings, here once definitely a very bustling city. Only now, the whole city was covered by a gray mist. Around, there are also many vehicles that look different from the cars on Earth and look much more advanced. Some soldiers walked towards the vehicle to observe, but suddenly frowned. It stinks. Look for the unclean, and the traces of the tears of God. With red light in the eyes of hatred, he ordered. After being defeated by Hulk, he always wanted revenge and proved that he was far stronger than Hulk. And this unclean person is obviously an opportunity. Yes, replied the soldiers. Mountain House. General Ross, are you crazy? Colonel Rhodes' eyes suddenly widened. Those who are unclean have destroyed a world. He sent out an army to actively look for it. I'm afraid I don't want to fart. In case the unclean one came to the Earth along the Red Sea thing. That must be an unimaginable disaster. Ignorance. General Ross sneered, looked at the world in the mirror, and said lightly, Hate, it is the greatest work in the history of the beautiful country, just watch it. Just what he observed. The slow speed of the unclean man should not be a big problem if the abomination cooperates with the army to solve it. At least, it was easy to seize a portion of meat containing the unclean's genes and ship it back. By the time, implanting these genes into the body of the abomination may not be able to create a larger abomination army. At that time, he wouldn't need to capture Hulk for research experiments at all. Crazy. You are simply crazy. Colonel Rhodes cursed. I will definitely report you to Congress. General Ross was about to say something. Screen. I heard a soldier screaming in horror. Emil Agent, I found those monsters. The soldier stood on the top floor of a tall mansion. Pointing in one direction, his face was full of horror. Monsters. Hate was taken aback. Immediately, his legs exerted strength, and he jumped to the 5th floor of that building, and then directly climbed up quickly. Almost instantly, it has reached the top floor. Seeing this scene, the expressions of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. changed slightly. The monster created by the military is actually so strong. And there is a Hulk who escaped to nowhere. But the next moment, looking at the picture in the light curtain, Nick Fury's pupils shrank suddenly. Screen. After the abomination jumped up to the top floor, he looked in the direction the soldier pointed. Immediately saw several huge rotting creatures, relying on their hands, slowly walked in the midair of this city. Yes, walk with your hands. Because these creatures only have the upper body. From the waist down, they were completely rotten. The stench they smelt before. It is the rotten smell of these unclean ones. Is this what the unclean looks like? Hiss. Such a terrifying monster. Nima. Such a big monster, walking with only 2 hands. How hard are their bones? I'm numb. The world and the Red Sea object was destroyed by these creatures. Quote. The internet exploded in an instant. Inside the mountain villa, Colonel Rhodes and Stark's complexion suddenly became a little ugly. This monster is too physically uncomfortable. On the other hand, General Ross's eyes showed excitement. Great. As long as you get the genes of these unclean people. On the screen of the light curtain, All the soldiers quickly gathered on the roof. There was terror and unbearable expressions on their faces. The smell of those unclean people is really too stinky. Hatred is nothing compared to it. Start attacking. The abomination gave the order. Quote. These soldiers immediately released the gunpowder in their hands frantically. Even rockets are used. The dust cleared away quickly. However, other than a few more bullet holes on the bodies of those unclean people, there were no injuries. Seeing this scene, everyone's expression changed suddenly. Hard against rockets. This is too outrageous, right? If this thing appears on Earth through the Red Sea object, I'm afraid that the Earth can be made the same as that world. What a perfect work. In General Ross's eyes, there was no fear at all, but the excitement became more and more intense. The stronger these unclean people are, it proves that the biochemical army he will create next will be stronger. Just need to hate to get the body tissues of these unclean people to escape. Anyway, the unholy ones were so slow it was impossible to overtake the abomination and the army. But the next moment, his expression suddenly changed. On the screen of the light curtain, after those unclean people were covered by firepower, they kept changing directions, looking left and right. Seems to be looking for a source of firepower. Soon, they found their target. Next moment, these unclean people suddenly broke out at an astonishing speed. Attack in the direction of those soldiers. Boom. The earth trembled. Almost instantly, these unclean people have already arrived under the building where the soldiers are. Then, they use their thick arms to climb up quickly. Impossible. General Rogers' face suddenly showed horror. Aren't these unclean ones so dull? Why is the speed suddenly so fast? No. But don't be afraid. General Ross comforted himself crazily, and said to himself, it doesn't matter if the speed is fast, as long as the hatred captures the body tissue and escapes. He is very confident in the power of the abomination. As for those soldiers, using their sacrifices in exchange for the future legion of unclean ones is definitely blood money. And at this time, on screen, seeing those unclean beings climbing up, the soldiers above the building suddenly became terrified. He frantically took out his weapon and shot down. However, these unclean people still cannot be stopped. Sure enough, I can finally kill Hulk. Hate growled. Jumped directly from the top of the building and landed on an unclean. Bump. Huge amounts of fists slammed on the unclean man frantically. The spikes on his arm immediately tore off some rotten pieces of flesh. Okay, the hatred was overjoyed, ready to jump and flee. However, at this moment, a big hand appeared above his body. Another unclean directly lifted him up. Tear. Next moment, Hate felt that his arm was torn apart. No, not just arms, his limbs, together with the head. They were all torn off by the unclean man and thrown directly into those rotten holes in the head. Life and death ate the hatred. Seeing this scene. This is the greatest work of the beautiful country. It was torn apart after a single meeting. Colonel Rhodes shook his head angrily and asked. But, in the face of his taunt, General Ross has found it difficult to understand at the moment. He stared at the picture in the light curtain, eyes full of horror. The whole body couldn't help shaking. The physical strength of the abomination is stronger than that of Hulk, and it can withstand the firepower of an army. In the end, it was torn apart by the unclean. No. Impossible. He finally cried out in horror. And the next moment, makes him even more. Something that frightened everyone appeared on the screen. New York, in a street tavern, looking at the screen. Instantly torn apart by a group of unclean people. Dr. Banner, who had been avoiding the pursuit of the military, suddenly showed shock in his eyes. He had just fought the abomination not long ago. In the case of transforming into Hulk a few times before. He has been beaten by hatred all the time. Even if the last fight overcame hatred, it was only after paying a very painful price that they could win by a narrow margin. But now, the abomination was directly torn apart by those unclean. Doesn't that mean, if I transform into a Hulk, I'm afraid my fate will not be much better when I meet these unclean people? It's a good thing this thing didn't appear on Earth. After a while, Banner muttered happily. However, the next moment, his pupils shrank suddenly. See, on the screen, after the hatred was instantly torn by those unclean, the remaining soldiers, he fell into extreme fear in an instant. Watching the approaching unclean ones, The soldiers finally reacted. The first time I chose to escape. Although the unclean are huge in size, they are also extremely fast. But the number of soldiers is too much. Soon, a small number of soldiers have fled downstairs. These soldiers got into the car without hesitation, and fled in the direction of the mirror at full speed. The roar of vehicles. Immediately, it attracted two unclean people and rushed towards them. Their distance from the mirror also getting closer. Seeing this scene, inside S.H.I.E.L.D., countless agents suddenly turned pale. If these unclean people really found the passage of the Red Sea objects and entered the Earth through this, everyone has to play. Ross, you are a lunatic. A lunatic. You are going to hell. Nick Fury was so angry that he cursed. Immediately afterwards, he ordered, prepare to launch the plan with the highest authority. If necessary, directly mobilize the nuclear bomb. Hands. He took out the pager again. Kamar Taj. The expression of Ancient One magician suddenly became serious. As Sorcerer Supreme, basically, except for the invasion of other dimensions, it will not be taken lightly. And she also made a deal with Dormammu. The more magical powers are used, the more likely it is that Dormammu will descend on Earth. So she has been trying to avoid doing it herself. But now, it seemed that she couldn't stand it anymore. Inside the mountain villa, everyone's faces suddenly turned pale. As those soldiers and the unclean people approached, they seemed to be able to smell it. That indescribable stench coming from behind the mirror. Inside the mirror, seeing that they were about to reach the place to leave, the faces of those soldiers suddenly showed surprise. Go back. Go back. I order you to go back. General Ross yelled. But his voice cannot be transmitted to the mirror. And even if the soldiers heard, under the strong survival instinct after extreme fear, it is impossible to listen to his orders. Stay here. You can't let this monster out. General Ross suddenly addressed the remaining soldiers. Then, he himself got into a jeep and fled the mountain villa at high speed. Seeing this scene, countless people immediately cursed. This guy caused such a big trouble. Why did he choose to run away in the first place? This is too much. It's too much. Ross, you're going to hell. Quote. Inside the mirror, just when those soldiers were about to reach the edge of the mirror, a big hand, but suddenly seized the whole car. Then, the extremely rotten head with no facial features looked in the direction of the mirror again. Suddenly, it occupies the entire mirror surface. And it still seems to be trying, through this mirror. A huge amounts of rotten finger, trying to pass through the mirror to this side of the earth. Seeing this scene, the complexions of everyone in the mountain villa instantly turned pale. In their minds, only one thought left. It's over. The unclean really found a way to the earth. And when everyone is desperate. Boom. Outside the mountain villa, suddenly there was the roar of several armed helicopters. Immediately after seeing, one after another, Foundation agents entered the mountain villa neatly equipped. Seeing these figures, everyone suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Although, I don't know how to deal with this unclean person. But the Foundation's agent appeared. It instinctively gave them a great sense of security. Stark's expression froze suddenly, because he noticed. This time, the Foundation's agents actually brought a lot of D-class personnel. Go ahead, everyone, the leading Foundation agent nodded. Next moment, I saw the expressions on the faces of several D-class personnel suddenly become crazy. For humanity, then, they rushed straight into the mirror. This frenzied expression, some like Yinsen's expression after being brainwashed by the epidemic doctor before. Stark was taken aback. Several D-class personnel, the moment they entered the mirror world, is directly noticed by the unclean. In an instant, some D-class personnel were killed. But after the remaining D-class personnel escaped, then he frantically fled towards the depths of the mirror. The unclean man was immediately attracted by these D-class personnel, and quickly chased after them. And at the rotten fingers of the unclean. The moment you leave the mirror. Start recovery of anomalous containment 093, Red Sea object. The agents of the Foundation. He immediately took out a huge amounts of red cloth and covered the huge amounts of mirror. Inside the mountain villa, the rancid smell that originally came from the mirror disappeared in an instant. Seam. The two spaces are separated. This cloth is also an abnormal containment item. Stark's eyes widened suddenly. He took a deep breath. In mind, involuntarily, the mission log that I saw before, as well as those D-class personnel just now appeared. Besides, the green monster named Abomination just now. A strange emotion was suddenly generated in his heart. Although I don't have those extraordinary abilities beyond ordinary people, technology can also make me stronger. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., looking at the gradually darkened picture. All agents, they couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Nick Fury slumped onto a chair, covered in cold sweat. A feeling of survival after a catastrophe suddenly emerged in his heart. It's really dangerous. Just a tiny bit short. The unclean can really appear on the earth. The consequences, I can't even think about it. Ross, you have to pay. Inside the tavern, so far so good. Dr. Banner breathed a sigh of relief. However, just when he was about to say something more, his complexion suddenly changed. Hastily left the tavern. Hulk. A moment later, a roar came. Kamar Taj. On the faces of all the magic apprentices. It's all about fear. Baron Mordo stared at the light curtain. He rolled his eyes, but didn't say a word. Stark. The Ancient One magician looked at Stark in the picture, with a strange expression on his face. Never mind. Finally, she shook her head and said, as long as Stephen Strange becomes the Sorcerer Supreme according to the prophecy, there will be no problem. Then, she directly activated Eye of Agamotto, and secretly observed Stephen's state. After a while, the Ancient One magician opened his eyes, with a satisfied smile on his face. Very good. The next Sorcerer Supreme is continuing to move forward according to his destiny. And at this moment, the screen of the light curtain suddenly lit up again. Inventory of the top 10 containment objects of the Foundation. The fourth place starts to count. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D. It's coming. Sure enough, it's coming again. Nick Fury took a deep breath. Look at the light curtain. I couldn't help shaking my head, and sighed. This Foundation's inventory video really doesn't make people feel at ease. The faces of all S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were instantly filled with tension. These abnormal containments, without exception, are too dangerous. Even for an organization like S.H.I.E.L.D. that specializes in dealing with such incidents, it is equally dangerous. Just inside the Red Sea object, the image of the unclean, that oppressive feeling. They are afraid that they will never forget it. This time, I don't know what it is. Nick Fury murmured under his breath. Asgard. Phew, new containment. Loki murmured in shock. Even he, also have to admit, in the other world of the Red Sea object. If the record of that Foundation agent is true, then that God, probably not a false god anymore. I never showed up. The unclean created by the so-called tears of God alone can destroy an entire world. This ability, even he can't do it. And judging by the unclean person at the end, this information is probably true. It must have actually existed. Gods that don't belong to the 9 realms. Loki stared at the light curtain, muttering to himself. New York, we have to act fast this time. Caecilius stared at the light curtain, and said excitedly, those abnormal containment objects are too weird. The Great Dormammu will definitely come soon. Several times before, either he was shocked by the weirdness of the abnormal containment. Either he didn't have time to act, and those anomalous containment objects had already been contained. This time, no matter what the containment is, it must belong to us. When you see the information, start looking for it immediately. Caecilius murmured under his breath. And at this moment, in the light curtain, a new screen appeared. One look. Like a teddy bear stitched together from countless pieces. This scene immediately stunned countless people. What? The anomalous containment object this time is actually a bear. Did you make a mistake? Isn't this just a teddy bear? It's exactly the same as the one in my house. 666. Brother upstairs, you are finished. I look forward to seeing your live broadcast later. I'm going. Brothers, don't be fooled by the appearance of these abnormal containment objects. Anyway, based on my experience, these abnormal containment objects are extremely dangerous no matter what they look like. Stay away and you're done. That's right. After I saw this picture, I just threw away all the teddy bears in my house. I was afraid that I would be unlucky like Stark and encounter the containment twice. Stark, don't call, thank you. Quote. There was an uproar on the internet. Caecilius' breathing stopped for a moment. He had already thought about it. As soon as the contents of this time were announced on the light curtain, he acted immediately. After all, each of the previous contained objects can be seen to be extremely strange from the outside. They only need to pay attention to finding them, and there is still a good chance. Result: the anomaly contained in this inventory is in the shape of a teddy bear. Why can't this thing be seen everywhere in the world? This is a fart. Don't worry, let's see other materials in action. Caecilius snorted coldly. And at this time, the information in the light curtain was updated immediately. 4th place. Anomalous containment 2295 heart sewing bear. Object level. Safe. See this line of information. Inside shield. All the agents started to get busy immediately. There are more than 2,000 storage numbers this time. Hiss. The previous inferences about the Foundation were reconfirmed to be wrong. Those abnormal containments have at least 4 digits. My God, where did these anomalous containment objects come from? Why are there so many? And Nick Fury frowned tightly. Look, keep an eye on the item class line. Safe. Another new item class. These project levels, what the hell are they divided by? Nick Fury couldn't help but growl. Before, according to their inference, the object level of the Foundation's anomalous containment may be divided by threat level. But the Red Sea object destroyed a world's anomalous containment like this. Theoretically, it should be Keter level like Jingman and Wanyi Angel. But the Red Sea object is only Euclid class. This is enough to prove that their previous inferences were wrong. And now, they even have the rules for the specific classification of the object levels of these 2 abnormal containment objects. I haven't figured it out yet. A new item level safe popped up again. These 3 levels, what exactly do they represent? Just when Nick Fury was deep in thought. In the picture of the light curtain, the information is updated again. Soon, a new file emerged in the light curtain. Description: Anomaly Containment 2295 is a teddy bear made of rags, with an overall size of approximately 0.46 m, filled with artificial fibers and wool. Anomalous Containment 2295 has a small heart in the anatomically correct position within its left chest, with a bow tied around its neck. The cloth pieces that make up Anomalous Containment 2295 vary in color and material. Experiments have confirmed that the components of Anomalous Containment 2295 do not have any abnormal chemical properties. See this paragraph. Countless people immediately widened their eyes. What? This containment doesn't have any abnormal chemical properties. That means it's just an ordinary teddy bear. If you don't want your eyes upstairs, you can donate them to those in need. Thank you, your teddy bear has a heart. It's numb. Judging from this description and the picture just now, the abnormal containment this time seems quite cute, doesn't it? Cute? What? Judging people by their appearance and getting them on the abnormal containment. Is the unclean just now cute? Shit, I don't know what kind of monster this time's abnormal containment is. Quote. Inside shield. This time, after the detailed information on the appearance of the anomalous containment was announced, there were not many agent operations to investigate the relevant information. No way. The image of this rag teddy bear is all too common on Earth. Even if they shield find it, it is also similar to finding a needle in a haystack. But, although not investigated, but every SHIELD agent is always on alert, ready to act. Nick Fury and a group of SHIELD executives. They all looked at the light curtain nervously. I don't know how much disaster will be caused by the characteristics of the abnormal containment this time. Nick Fury stared at the light curtain, feeling extremely uneasy. He doesn't take this teddy bear lightly just because of its cute appearance. After all, he has suffered this kind of loss once from Yuan-devouring beast. The orange cat looks very cute on the outside, but it turns out to be so scary. He thinks, this heart-stitching bear should be in a similar situation to the Yuan-devourer. Kamar Taj, a teddy bear with a heart. Ancient One Magician is also staring at the light curtain. I guessed nervously in my heart that the characteristics of this abnormal containment came. If it is really the same as those contained objects that can destroy the world, she wouldn't care so much. She had to act. However, the next moment, the Ancient One Magician was taken aback when he saw the new data appearing in the light curtain. When a human being with persistent organ damage appears within 2 meters of it, abnormal containment 2295 will enter an active state. Anomalous containment 2295 will anomalously produce a variety of utensils from its mouth, including but not limited to scissors, thin white thread, sewing needles, and knitting hooks. It will use fibers and fillers from any adjacent materials to create anomalous containment 22951, a replica fabric of the individual's organs. Anomalous containment 22951 will replace the individual's original organs in an anomalous manner. It is not known where the replaced organs were moved. Abnormal containment 22951 can successfully assume all the functions of the original organs, although this phenomenon violates theories of biology, chemistry, and medicine. In the subject, adjacent tissues and blood vessels connected to the simulated organ showed no obvious lesions. Shield. All the agent faces. All expressions of disbelief. Even Nick Fury, along with a group of SHIELD executives, had a look on their faces. What's the situation? Judging from this information, the abnormal containment items counted this time. Instead of posing any danger. On the contrary, can it save human beings? This is the first case among so many containment items that have been counted. And at this time, the information in the light curtain has been updated again. In the absence of materials available nearby, anomalous containment 2295 will use its own cloth and padding. Seeing this information, the internet suddenly boiled up. God, the anomalous containment this time, is actually good. This, sacrificing his own cloth to save human beings. He really, I cried to death. Is there such a thing in the abnormal containment? It always feels like a scam. I don't believe there will be such a kind anomalous containment. Quote. Inside the mountain villa. Impossible. It is absolutely impossible to have such a good thing in the abnormal containment. Stark's face was full of disbelief. The two abnormal containments he encountered were extremely weird and dangerous. Abnormal containment objects are absolutely full of such extremely dangerous abnormal containment objects. He stared at the light curtain, and said for a while, "That's right. It must be that the data of this abnormal containment has not been updated, and those weird and dangerous characteristics are still in the data later. It's like a plague doctor who can resurrect a corpse through surgery, but that's definitely not a good thing. In short, if there is no other weirdness behind this abnormal containment, I ate the Stark building." In Stark's mind, the scene of the countless abnormal containment objects 0492 when he saw the plague doctor did not emerge. The scalp couldn't help but tingle again. That makes sense, as expected of you, Stark. Colonel Rhodes suddenly realized and nodded. At this moment, in the light curtain, it was updated again. All written data disappears. Instead, it's a live broadcast. Then, Colonel Rhodes suddenly showed a strange expression on his face. Looking at Stark. When are you going to start eating Stark building? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.